Hello, Deep Six Wrestling fans, and welcome to another episode of Glorious or Rotten. I am your host, the Glorious Robbie Rotten, aka the Glorious One, aka Mr. Money in the Bank. And this episode is about Extreme Rules, which just took place in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And myself and Jiu Jitsu Joey were in attendance, and as proof, here are our chairs. We were on the floor behind the announce table, about 7 rows behind the announce table. So check out the pay-per-view again and see if you can see us. That would be pretty cool if we're actually on camera. Okay, so let's get right into it. I didn't take notes because I was actually enjoying the pay-per-view. So I didn't take any notes, so I'm going to do this off the top of my head to the best of my abilities. So if I screw up or forget anything, whoops. But first off, to kick off the kickoff show was the Intercontinental Championship match between Finn Balor and Shinsuke Nakamura. And this was added last minute. I was surprised to not see it as actually a match announced beforehand. But yeah, it wasn't. And this was a solid match. Really back and forth. Nothing really special in it. It was a little shorter than I would have thought. But, it was a good match, good kickoff show match. But Shinsuke gets the win here with a Kinshasa. And I don't know what they're doing with Finn. I don't know what's going on. I don't know whether he's going to move up to the main event scene or move over to Raw and be with the club. Or if, I don't know. So we'll see what's going on moving forward. It's a good win for Shinsuke. He hasn't really been doing a lot lately. And he's really talented. So I can't really be mad at this. It was a pretty solid match, but again, more time and with more build, this could have been something really special. So I wish it would have been that. Moving forward, we'll see. Next up, we had the Cruiserweight Championship match between champion Drew Gulak and his challenger Tony Nese. And of course, this was a really good match. What do you expect from the Cruiserweights? They're always putting on good matches. Again, I don't really watch 205 Live, so I'm never really as invested in their matches. And this was definitely shorter than the Triple Threat match at Stomping Grounds. They didn't get a chance to do as much, but it was still good. Again, a couple more minutes, and this could have been really good. But it was good for what it was. Nothing to complain about, but again, nothing special. So just really good way to kick off the show. 2 really solid matches from 4 really solid competitors. And what more can you ask for? Good way to warm up the Philly crowd. And to kick off the main card, we had Shane McMahon, the best in the world, and Drew McIntyre versus the Graveyard Dogs, Roman Reigns and The Undertaker. And Taker looked really good. Oh man, it was so refreshing to see him look good. Because at at whatever the Saudi Arabia show is, I can't even remember anymore. Super Showdown. He looked terrible. I mean, I blame more of that on Goldberg, but still, he looked bad. And this was definitely a redemption for The Undertaker. He was used very smartly and not overexposed too much. This was really fun. What a great way to kick off the main card. You had a little bit of everything. You had some table spots. Shane elbow dropped Taker through the table. Elias came out and hit Taker with a guitar, and then Elias and Drew held him on top of the announce table. She did the elbow drop through it. And then after that, they put him in the corner and put a trash can over his face, and then Shane drop kicked him. Oh, man. And then Taker sitting up and Shane just being shocked. It was really fun. Man, this was just great. I really enjoyed this match. I'm just happy Taker looked so good. This one absolutely gets a glorious for me. What a great way to kick off the main card. You can't ask for better than this. Next up, we had the Raw Tag Team Championship match between the Revival and the Usos. And both of these teams are so talented. The Revival is finally getting the run they deserve on top of the division. And what better challenges can you give them than the Usos, Two of the top tag teams in the world, for sure. And this didn't disappoint. This was really good. A lot of fun action here. The crowd was a little quiet. I think they were tired from the match prior. But what can you do? You know, you can't really blame them for that because that match was so hot. But still, it didn't really put a damper on this match. It was still really good. And I think with a few more minutes, like I said about the pre-kickoff show matches, this could have been a classic. But it was still good. Couple more minutes and it's a classic, though. Can't complain about this match at all. Another really solid addition to the card. Next up, we had Alistair Black versus Cesaro. And this was Alistair's debut singles match, pretty much, on the main roster. After a bunch of weeks of vignettes and some promos, finally he's here. And Cesaro was the person to knock on his door and challenge him. And this was great. What a great showcase for Alistair Black. They picked the absolute right opponent for him and Cesaro. And way to kick off his main roster run strong. I mean, he looked really good when he was in a tag team with Ricochet going through to WrestleMania, but this did wonders for him here. And I'm so happy. I love Alistair Black, and I think he deserves to be a top guy, and I think he could be if booked correctly and if showcased like this. And yes, there was a lot of fun stuff in this match, but mostly it was just really solid action. Absolutely glorious for me. Can't get much better than this for a debut, you know. Perfectly done. Absolutely great. And next up, we had the SmackDown Women's Championship match between Bayley and her challengers, Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross, who were tag teaming, basically. So it was a tag team handicap match. This was alright. The dynamic here was okay. I mean, the crowd was really into Nikki, but it was just kind of obvious that, like, I don't know. It just feels like we're headed to Nikki and Alexa splitting. Is Nikki finally realizing that Alexa's not really the best for her? So, I don't know. I'm looking forward to their eventual split, but, you know, their match at Stomping Grounds was much better, Alexa and Bayley. And this was okay. I mean, it's not offensive. It wasn't bad, really. It wasn't horrible. It was just kind of there. And Bayley wins with an elbow drop on Nikki Cross and retains her title like she should. She absolutely deserves to keep running with it. So this wasn't the time to end it, and hopefully she gets at least a few more months as champion. And next up, we had the last man standing match between Braun Strowman and Bobby Lashley. And honestly, I wasn't really looking forward to this match too much. And then a couple weeks ago, they did that thing where they went through the stage, and that kind of ramped up my expectations a little bit. And man, did they deliver here. This was actually fantastic. Everything they did was just brutal. And Bobby Lashley looked great. Strowman comes out of this looking like an absolute champ. Definitely a possible contender going forward. More on that later. But I really, really enjoyed this. The finish was awesome. With Braun Strowman, after a while, brawling around the arena. Braun Strowman power slamming Bobby Lashley through, I don't even know exactly what it was, like some kind of staging, and then busting through the wall at the count of like 7 or 8. And man, this was great. What a good showcase for these two guys. Absolutely glorious. Fantastic match. And last man standing matches can be kind of but this really delivered. Great stuff from both guys here. And then we had the SmackDown Tag Team Championship match between Daniel Bryan and Rowan, Heavy Machinery, and The New Day. And I had a really hard time calling this match. It could have gone anyway. And that was the fun of it. And it was a good match. It was really fun. Um, the finishing sequence was just great with Daniel and Big E going back and forth. And it was really good stuff. I am not sold on Heavy Machinery. I know people like them and they're over, but I just don't see it. I don't see it. I don't see it. And I'm glad they didn't pick up the titles here. I don't think they're ready remotely for them. But who knows? I don't know. I'm not... I can be wrong. And yes, the New Day pick up the win and the Tag Team Championships. And now you have all three members of the New Day as champions, which is really nice. Really nice visual. I wouldn't say this was special, but it was pretty good. Nothing wrong with this tag team title match. I can't complain here. Continuing a very solid card to this point. And then next up we had the United States Championship match between AJ Styles and Ricochet. And AJ Styles had the club with him, Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows. These two have really good chemistry, and they crushed it. Lots of really fun, high-flying spots here. Man, I would love to see these guys wrestle again and again and again. And, oh man, if this had 5 more minutes, this would be an absolute classic. But it was still really, really good. I would still give this match a glorious. AJ Styles wins with a little bit of a distraction from the club and hits a top rope Styles clash. It just looked brutal. And you already heard what I had said. You already heard what I had to say. Definitely glorious. Great match. And I hope to see a few more down the line from these two for sure. And next we had another unannounced match. We had Kevin Owens versus Dolph Ziggler. As Kevin Owens came out on SmackDown and cut like what's being called a pipe bomb promo on Shane McMahon about how Shane McMahon doesn't deserve spotlight and how he should be off TV and how all these other superstars deserve it. And he got super over from this. And he comes out and you know what? This isn't even a match. Kevin Owens hits a stunner and pins Ziggler. And then cuts another promo on the crowd on Shane McMahon for the crowd. The crowd goes nuts. I'm fine with it. Puts Kevin over strong. I feel a little bit bad for Ziggler here, but Ziggler has not really been relevant in a while. I mean, he was feuding for the World Championship about a month ago, but he was still kind of an afterthought. So what can you do? And this was fine for what it was. No complaints, really. It was alright. And then we had the WWE Championship match between Kofi Kingston and Samoa Joe. And there was a short build up to this, but it was a good build up. There was definitely some apprehension for me because I don't really view Samoa Joe as a world champion. I am probably in the minority in that because people absolutely love him. He's a good talker. He's decent wrestler. People say he's great. I've seen a lot of Samoa Joe matches live, and every time I see him wrestle, it's just kind of eh. Like, I have not seen any match by Samoa Joe that has blown me away. It just hasn't. And he's a great talker. He's a great character, absolutely. And he definitely has a good look. But I don't know. There's just something about him. I don't like his entrance music. And I've never been a huge fan of him. And there wasn't anything special about this match. Kofi gets the clean pin on Samoa Joe with a Trouble in Paradise, as I was hoping he would. And I'm kind of hoping they move on from this. I don't really need to see Samoa Joe versus Kofi too. I think Kofi could get a bigger, better challenger, and especially for SummerSlam. Especially when he didn't just beat Clean in about 10 minutes here. So, solid, but not anything great. Probably more of like a TV quality match than pay-per-view, in my opinion. And then finally, we had the main event, the winner take all Extreme Rules mixed tag team match between Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch versus Baron Corbin and Lacey Evans. And fun stuff. This was really good. There's a lot of really cool spots in here. There was one spot where they had tables set up on the outside with Corbin on one and Lacey on the other, and Seth and Becky both went up. Seth went on the top rope and Becky went on like the middle rope on the outside, and she did a leg drop on Lacey, and then Seth frog splashed over that and onto Corbin. It was awesome. Becky took an end of days. Oh, it was so great. Corbin got a hell boot out of him after that. And then Seth went nuts and beat the hell out of him with a kendo stick. And then hit him with a bunch of curb stomps and pinned him for the win and the retention of their titles in a stellar match. This was absolutely main event worthy. And all four competitors worked really hard here. Definitely glorious. What a way to end the show. Or was it? Because as soon as the bell and everybody clears out of the ring, Brock Lesnar's music hits. And then he hits the ring, hits a couple of German suplexes, the bell rings, he hits an F5, and 1, 2, 3. Brock Lesnar is our new Universal Champion. Damn. What a shame. Seth Rollins was having a great run, and now Brock Lesnar's champ again. And why? I don't know, man. I don't get it. I'm thinking maybe Braun, after that match that he had with Lashley and looking as strong as he did, maybe he's the challenger at SummerSlam and will finally get his win on Brock. I don't know. I really hope Brock doesn't hold it for a long time. We don't need this. But it happened. And I'm going to give Brock Lesnar winning the Universal Champion a rotten.
Ew. Rotten.
Why do you do this to me? But overall, Extreme Rules was a really fun pay-per-view. Nothing really stood out as terrible. I really enjoyed pretty much the whole card. And I'm just happy I got my chair finally. I've been waiting like 10 years to get one of those. I've been to over a dozen pay-per-views now, and I've just never decided to sit close enough to ringside to get one. Tickets are always expensive. But I was able to get a good deal on these seats, and it was so worth it. Absolutely worth it. You know what? I'm going to give this pay-per-view a glorious overall. Really enjoyed the card. And that's all I've got to say about that. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please subscribe to us here on YouTube. Follow us on Twitter at Deep Six Wrestling. And like us on Facebook at Deep Six Wrestling. Thank you guys for watching. Have a glorious day.